we came here in 1985 from Washington, D.C. And to begin with, we came here in April or May to look for a place to live. We had this realtor on Friday who took us to Cuyahoga Falls and took us to Firestone Park. And then we managed to have this other realtor on Saturday. And we had explained, look, we're from Washington, we like pedestrian neighborhoods. We like to be able to walk to stuff. We like to have stores and theaters and things. And so, okay. So she brought us to Highland Square, and it was like, this is it. We're not going anywhere else. We're finding a house here, which we did that day. Signed on the line, and we came back in August. And I say we come from Washington. If any of you know anything about Washington, D.C., my office in Washington is in a place called DuPont Circle. DuPont Circle is, or at least was, before Washington got so rich that nothing was like this. That was the funky place in Washington. It was the diverse place. It was the exciting place. Lots of young people. Just a wonderful place. Just like Highland Square. And I tell people, Highland Square is the DuPont Circle of Akron. And today proves it. And this place is amazing. So we came here, we had our kids, which we come to Akron to do, which is a great thing to do. And my wife, if she weren't sitting in her booth, would be telling you about taking Bill down to the library to go to the reading hour, about when Bill and his friend Matt would run out of confectioner's sugar preparing for Thanksgiving. I must have been the day before. So we sent them where? To the grocery store, yes, the Sparkle Market. So they came down to Sparkle Market and got the confectioner's sugar. And of course, that was one of the things that attracted us. This place is great. Look, we can walk to the grocery store here. So we bought a house here. So, you know, if anybody significant is listening, we're still walking to the grocery store, and eventually we're going to get there. Speaking of family, which we heard a lot about, you know, we had these little kids, and we had these strollers, and we were strolling around down to the square. There was a Great Northern Bank down on the corner where, I think it's where they're building where Two Amigos was, right? Is that where it was? Anyway, and there were these two ladies in there, and they were the nicest people. And they cared about us. And of course, our kids grew up with them for a while until Great Northern got bought by big something or other else and got eaten up and taken away. But they were, you know, they kept in touch with us. And then when I got the associate dean job, there was a little bitty article in the paper, which Rose, who had been at Great Northern, saw, and she sent me a note. That's what Highland Square is, you know. We know each other. We love each other. And speaking of loving each other, Two Amigos. We love Two Amigos. It was a great place. And what happened to it? Well, the food wasn't as good. You know what I think happened to it? We knew the servers. And we weren't going to go there once we learned what was happening to them. They're our family. You can't treat them that way. Goodbye, Two Amigos. I think that's one. Maybe the food wasn't so bad. Whatever else happened, I think that was part of it. We have for years walked down to Mary Coyle's. We go about once a week. We've got to have the ice cream. Here's a story that Laurel didn't want me to tell, or my wife. She wasn't sure I should tell it because we're supposed to tell all these positive things about Highland Square. Well, no, this is actually a positive thing about Highland Square. We live on North Highland. And there was a house across, the house is still there, across from us, whichever, North Highland, yeah, that way. This house across from us, and folks moved out, and this young woman moved in. Well, it turned out she was a young lawyer, and her parents had bought her this house, and they totally fixed it up. So it's in great shape, and she just never seemed to be there, so we started to call it the toy house. This is a little toy house. Well, she moved out, and some other people moved in. A young woman and a young man moved in. And here's another thing about Akron. We live in this old house where the doors are open in the summer. Not the doors downstairs, but the doors from our bedroom and the windows are open because we don't have air conditioning. And most of the time in Akron in the summer, you don't really need air conditioning, which is one of the reasons this is a great place to live. It's much better than being hermetically sealed in Washington, where we were. But the trouble with that is that there's noise outside. And it happened, there was noise from this house. As Laurel just said to me today, the hinges squeaked. Whenever they opened the door, the hinges squeaked. And apparently this was happening at like 2:30 in the morning. So what was going on at 2:30 in the morning? Well, at some point, I believe somebody heard gunshots. And we kind of watched, and these people would stop, and they'd go in, and they'd come out at 2:30 in the morning. And this did not seem like the right thing for our neighborhood. And so a bunch of us got together and said, we got to do something about this. So among other things, right in our little sunroom, I set up the video camera. So we were filming everybody going in and out of that place. And the neighbors on all sides were getting together. We got the police to come down. Eventually we discovered that the house was owned by this wealthy couple. And I believe by then the couple had separated or divorced. And she was down in North Carolina being a big shot. I don't know where the father was. But she came up and she had a meeting with the families, and oh yes, we're gonna take care of this, don't worry. And we were all happy. She's gonna sell the house, get rid of these people who are doing things they should not be doing in our neighborhood. Well, that didn't happen. This kept going on. We kept calling the police. People kept coming in the middle of the night. There were fights out in front of the house. And at some point, for some reason, this woman called Laurel, my wife. We don't know why. And she was yelling at her for something, but Laurel just gave it to her and said, look, if you promise us you're going to sell that house, if you don't sell that house, your name is going to be all over the papers everywhere with respect to this. And this woman said, no, they're selling candy. What? Are you kidding? You think they're selling candy? So anyway, and she just laid it on her about this. Your name is going to be everywhere in the papers about what's going on with these people in this house in our neighborhood. And it wasn't long after that she sold the house, and they were gone. So, you know, Highland Square doesn't put up with that kind of stuff. We are neighbors. We're a family. Again, we get together and we fix up our neighborhood. We take care of our houses. We get rid of the bad element. You know, that's the kind of place this is. And we've had so many other getting rid of the bad element. Mr. Smith over there. We, of course, got rid of the Taco Bell that never actually came, because we got rid of it. You know, but that was this neighborhood getting together, making it work. This neighborhood getting together, making it work, is what put that plaza over there where we just had the great dance performance a little while ago, because the stores are on the street and not at the back, and the parking is behind you. That was Highland Square not putting up with doing it wrong here. Once Walgreens happened, no longer. That was doing it wrong. Now they're our neighbors now. You know, I think we got to treat them like neighbors, but no more. No more of that. This is an urban neighborhood, and it's going to stay that way. And we have anything to say about it. Gosh, what else? There's so much to say about Highland Square. We live in a classical old Highland Square house. We bought it right about the time the movie The Money Pit came out. And we're just in the middle of, you know, another plumbing disaster. We have an electric shower. I don't know. There are a lot of houses around here. If you go to Stan Hewitt, you see these showers that have sort of things on the side as well as from the top. You know, we've got one of those showers. And so if you stood on the drain on the floor and happened to touch one of those things on the side, you'd get a shock. Well, this wasn't a good thing. So we had to go turn off the breaker while we were taking the shower. Well, that wasn't a good thing because it was dark. So anyway, so we eventually got it all torn up. Still got it all torn up. Had to tear up this wall, tear off the wall behind it, tear up the ceiling below it. I think we finally discovered why that's happening, and we'll fix that up. And we've had a couple of roofs on the house, and put in a bunch of windows, but it's worth every penny. You know, it's a wonderful old house. It's the kind of house that lets us not have to have air conditioning in the summer. And we just, we love it there. Of course, as with Highland Square houses, it has a front porch. And what do you get with front porches? You get neighbors. You actually see them. People walk up and down the street and say hello. You know? You wave, you might go out and talk to each other. Can you imagine that? I didn't think they allowed that in America today, but they allow it here in Akron. Of course, we have block parties. I mean, I can't say enough about Highland Square. This day is amazing. I choke up. I lived in Washington, D.C., and it was great. We lived on Capitol Hill. It was exciting. And if you wanted to go to see an orchestra that's not as good as the Cleveland Orchestra, it would take you an hour in god-awful traffic to get there and another hour in god-awful traffic to get back. It takes us 12 minutes to get to the Blossom Music Center. It takes us 10 minutes or 12 minutes to get to Botsam and ride my bicycle for 30 miles. I mean, there is no place that's better than Highland Square in Akron.